lighthearted law of what we all share. Okay, let's see. Is this working? Boom, boom, boom. Yep. Now, here we go. Okay. So here we are again. We have a beautiful sister with us. Let me just get to where I need to be. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, we're back here with Orsi, and we had a really good conversation about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We're gonna pick up where we left off. She has a. If you didn't see the first show, you might want to go back and watch it. She has a very unique, as we all do, but a very unique mix of experience and yeah, both vocationally and light worker wise, you might say. And she covers a lot of different subjects, including being able to humanize her experience and keep everything in the right perspective, we might say. So it's great to have you back, Orsi. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. We are being shadow banned after we came out of the shoot again in May. But that's something we were used to. So if you can share to one group or your page, if you know, that's fine. If you do, fine. If you don't, we could use the help. But it'll get out there because we're going to have enough volume to do it. All right, let's get on with Soulogy Speaks. We got Orsi in the house, and I was just telling her before we went live that it was a hell of a night last night. The lucid dreams were off the charts, which that's saying a lot for me because I get them virtually every night. But the level of recall, something I've been suspecting for a while. Maybe she can speak to this because she's got quite a bit that she can tap into. But for me, there's been some type of greater connectivity and recall from lucid dream, not only in deciphering dreams, although I'm not an expert at that. It is a different language, but also, you know, understanding a little bit better what the dream is telling me or us, because I don't think I'm the only one it's happening to, and then having the recall, but that there this connectivity between the two states. You might use those terms: awake state physically and dream state physically, although it's probably the other way around. But like they're becoming one timeline or something. I can't really put my finger on it, but this morning I felt that like I've not felt it before. Like something happening in the dream. I wouldn't be surprised if I walk out the door and there I am in that scene or something like that. And then I would say the other thing that seems to be, for me anyway, coming on or becoming more obvious and prevalent is obviously time is going away, but space is now taking on that same trajectory that time probably started a couple of years ago, right? And it's moving faster. It's moving faster. So, like in the example of somebody woke up in 2012 and somebody woke up in 2018, that the person that woke up at 2012 might have done 10 years of hard labor and shadow work, and the one over here might have been 2 years. So the intelligence and the consciousness is one in such that when you walk in the door in a certain, let's just say a certain time and space, you're up to speed as you're tapped into the collective, you know? So yeah, the connectivity between dream state and awake state, the level of recall, which really kind of sends to the same thing, speaks to the same thing, and then this thing happening with time and space or something going on there. Yeah, and anything else you want to talk about, I'm going to give you the hot potato and sit back and listen.
My God, hot potato in the hand. Okay, well, you've said so much. And, you know, today, what I kind of thought we should have a chat about, um, much connect to what you just said, that level of coherence, you know, is increasing, and I think that the more each and every single one of us is on the journey, and the more coherence we cultivate, and we cultivate it by understanding words like frequency and vibration and torque. And if you really think about it, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, we've never heard these words. this much. No way, no bloody way. Now, frequency is everything, at least in theory, until, people learn how to eventually cultivate it. But one of the things, for example, is cultivating organic nutrition, just generally in your diet, right? So then the more organic it is, the more, sacred geometrical upload, happens in the field. And the more you do that, the more you raise actually your level of alkalinity, you know, essentially, essentially that's what's happening. And the more alkalinity, um, in a natural way, I mean, not in a chemically induced way, in a natural way, the more that happens, the more hydrogen potential you have. And we also call that pH, right? How many
Mm,
people hear about pH, pH this, pH that? But really, what is pH? I found in the last 11 years of me running around in the world and talking about water and water energetics, that when I would ask a crowd, then they would not know what pH actually means. And
mm,
so it really means potential hydrogen. And the reason why I am talking about that
well,
is because hydrogen is, as we mentioned in the previous show, when I was on your show about 3, 4 weeks ago, that is the universal carrier substance between the dream world and this realm, between the realms. That's what takes you in and out and back and forth. And I call this the quantum hydration matrix. And a friend said, well, hydration, but why talk about hydration? Well, that's because it's hydrogen thing. It's a hydrogen upload. That's why it's so important. That's why water is important. That's why hydrogen is important, so that we can have this fluidity. And then I think certain activations that happen in the, astrological, astronomical skies will activate, certain times. That's why the lucid dreaming in certain planetary alignments are more prevalent. So
do
perhaps
you,
that's what we're going through.
a couple of questions. I love having conversations like this, especially with people that I know can handle them. Oh, did I just say that? Um, yeah, I must. It's not that I'm less humble now. I don't know what it is. I think it's our real authentic self coming out saying what it feels like saying. Okay, so okay, one thing is that I totally get what you're talking about. Like having talked to so many people over the years that had certain specificities in what they were attuned with or what they were downloading. Um, I've always been a real big believer, and I know it sounds cliche, that I'm more than this,
Yeah.
right? As much as I'm centered here,
Mhm.
I'm so much more than this.
Mhm.
And so the whole thing, like with the eating and the water issue, which I think is the biggest one, no question. Because even when I have to use water that I know is not up to like what you're talking about, I bless it. I talk to it. I say you can't overwrite the mother code, you know. But we and I'm also not a doomsday or anything like that. I guess this is what I'm trying to say. There seems to be an evolution happening where certain subjects everything's being touched, everything's being changed, the communication's being changed, the atmosphere is changing, the body's changing, the spirit's changing, whatever. But we live in no uncertain terms under an aerosol sky. Okay, we live under an aerosol sky, and so everything from the human perspective or vernacular would be tainted. Okay. So my question is, I feel like that I'm going to use the term technology. I feel like the technology or one of the things that you do, this part of it, the pH, the hydrogen, the water, and things associated with that. I feel like that technology, like everything, is also evolving, almost like as we're evolving in the physical, non-physical fusion, we were taking on more, let's say, the light body or crystalline body. But that doesn't, and this is just my question to you, that doesn't seem to take away from anything. It's not like we're leaving behind everything. We are in the sense that anything that's of an old construct, say from ego or fear or lack, but we're taking the purity with us, almost like we're refining what was there before this whole episode started. So I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit or what your reflections are in your own growth and journey and research. Has it been altering? But I'm going to let you just kind of jump
Yeah.
all over
I
that
mean,
now.
I'm getting just, sweaty palms, like it's getting so exciting conversation because I feel that the 21st century, let's just say in this timeline, is going to be about hydrogen,
Hmm.
everything. Yes, hydrogen in the water. So recognizing why that's important, but hydrogen fueled, or hydrogen powered vehicles, or you know what I mean, hydrogen cell, like fuel cells, like, that kind of jazz, like the fact that hydrogen actually is the fuel of the brain, And of course, in most of our lives, when we learned about biology, we hear more about oxygen than we would ever hear about hydrogen. Would you agree on that, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a big, big new buzzword. And then the other thing is about, that you were referring to how we're able to differentiate more as we're cultivating the frequency, vibration, and torque. And I always use those three terms together because you need all three. They're not the same idea. Frequency is not vibration, and vibration is not frequency. And so you also need torque power to make that all infused and activated, if that makes sense. But what I'm trying to say is that if you think that we're carbon beings, right? Well, which we know we're made up of carbon structure. Okay. So I'll have the clump of coal, analogy. And then in my other hand, I'll have that beautiful same size of diamond, which is also a carbon composition, but a different structure. So that then, if you think of us becoming more crystalline beings, imagine that
Yeah.
that analogy is happening with the refinement of our water energetics, and we cultivate a more quantum um, capable matrix, so it's easier to depart or at least differentiate and stabilize your new you, the new biological you, the new more crystalline being. And crystalline also in its word, at least to me, sounds like it's got more light to it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I
Mm.
just say that word crystalline, you feel more light energy to that, as if I just said coal or carbon.
Well,
So
coal, I mean, the coal diamond analogy that you're using really speaks to it to me. Like that's really it. And then the thing that you're saying about the hydrogen, that you feel like this will be what the 21st century is. Um, yeah, I can kind of like I'm tapping into something there too, because I feel like that whatever we think or whatever is happening, there's certainly some type of evolution or cycle, something turning over. And and one way to describe it would be that we're taking on more characteristics of our crystalline body or light body, okay? And that will have a physical ramification aspect to it, right?
correct,
And
correct.
so,
Very important what you're saying.
well,
Because
and
you talk. Yeah,
I wanted, oh, I'm sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Mm,
Oh, there was a lag. So I wanted to ask you, because I feel like one of those characteristics ultimately, right, is that the soul is free, that the soul is, from a scientific standpoint, the free energy of the universe. And then when you make the reference to hydrogen and you're breaking it down to a layman like me, I kind of feel like there's a connection there, like at a scientific approach or a scientific perspective, that if you wanted to break it down on what is that really going to look like, that in the physicality, it would be revolving around hydrogen. Does that make sense? That if we are our own vehicles and we understand the geometry and mechanics of the hydrogen,
yeah.
that we can actually tell, we're,
Yeah,
we're, we're free
yeah.
energy and form. Okay.
Of
That's what,
course, and even with the Merkabah light vessel, if we could talk about that too in a hot minute. But what I'd like to actually comment to what you just said, that this is why, personally, from my space, my from my coaching container, that's what I'm hoping that I can guide the people that appear in my space, that are ready to heal, that are journey ready, is that you need to move the physical body in tandem with the energetic field, with the energetic field. Imagine if you have a tandem like pump, like harmonious existence and living, I should say, then of course it's so much easier. No, you will recognize things so much easier because there's the fluidity of the communication between the realms, if you will, and hydrogen has a lot to do with that. But imagine if the physical body is lagging in density, you see. So I
mm,
say that your density is your destiny,
mm,
because the denser you are, the thicker, sludgier, slower, heavy, you know, you will not be able to, that light energy will bust your fuse. You're not
mm,
going to be able to harmoniously actually live. So, because you're a spirit being, you're a light being, there's no question about it. And what you're also talking about is Purusha. Purusha in Ayurveda is the pure consciousness out of which then the soul comes about, these little soul particles, you, me, the others. But really, we're all in the blubber, rubber plasma field. We're in the field together. So that's why I think you're very engaged with Soulogy. I'm very engaged with the substance that helps us with that process,
mm,
and makes it easier to live in this physical vessel, and then also create and co-create. So
mm,
now you can navigate your three-dimensional vessel more, intentionally understanding the energetic field, um, as we're all evolving in this big blubber of plasma. And
mm,
that is, my friend, the fourth phase of water. It's really a plasma, like in my theory and in my current understanding, based on my current level of consciousness, that's how I look at it. That this plasma is this big blubber of water, fourth phase energy, which is structured.
mm,
Ionized, it means it's got electrical charge. Imagine if we didn't have electrical charge.
mm.
We're walking, talking batteries,
Right, right.
all connected to the field together. So that's why it matters.
How
What
would you
Mhm.
how how would you explain to a layman like me or to most of us?
Um,
Because I get what you're saying. I think I want to try to go see if you can be if it is more explicit or can be more explicit. How would you explain to a person this density, okay, that we have within ourselves because of this container? Because we're all different shapes and sizes. Is this density, it would be easier if I'm right. Am I correct in saying it might be easier for me to look at it in terms of the channel, the clear, the clarity of the channel or the unobstructed aspect of the channel? No blockages and that type of thing. Is it something like that? And I'm sure these blockages and such show up in the body, but we all have such different bodies.
Mhm.
And you can see a person that's maybe very large that can move very agile, or someone that's more trim that doesn't have the movement. They're more stiff.
More.
But so would you say is that a way to look at it, or is there a better way that density is
Uh-huh.
about the flow that we have in terms of what we
Mhm.
can bring in and what we can emit? Is that
Yeah, yeah.
okay?
Uh, Look at, and I would just say it. You know me by now enough, actually, that I will say that of course the density and your size compared to your own self, is an optimal weight to 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 carry. It's very important. in our not just physical health, but
Mm,
in our mental and emotional bodies. And then beyond, even it goes into the intelligence sheets, we call it in Ayurveda, and then it will touch the bliss sheets as well. So we've got, the food channel, the breath channel, the mind sheet or channel, if you will. And we've got an intelligence channel now, bliss channel now. So in order for us to move all these energies, the more weight you have, like in terms of beyond what you should carry, will matter. But
right.
that alone is not just it. What it also is the toxicity, what you put into the system. Because if there's no light energy, life force energy, let me translate that into English, antioxidants. That's why we eat the fruits and the vegetables, because they're anti-oxidation. And oxidation actually is not a good thing. People believe because of oxygen that that's a right on, cool stuff. It isn't when it's too much. So oxidation, oxidative stress, um, too much oxygen in the system is actually aging, rusting. It's not good. It it's not a good energy. So we understand that in order for us to anti-age, so to speak, or just keep us well while we age in the timeline of the biological timeline, you know. That's why sometimes a 50-year-old would look much better than a 30-year-old, depending on the biological or the linear age. Which one we're looking at is how well you feed the vessel and how well you move the energetic body with it and your mental emotional spaces. So density will matter in every single way of toxic materials that you have in around your environment. And yes, we live in that crazy chemtrail kind of world that we cannot really do anything about. But yes, there are other things we can control. We can control our environment. We can choose where we live. We can choose how many times we go to nature. We can choose how many times we put our feet on the ground and how many trees we hug and how many times we choose to eat organic food and how many times, we can foster harmonious relationships. We can choose to have healthy boundaries. So all of that will matter because all of the, the downward energetics, it's going to keep pulling you further down to density. And then that is very difficult to ascend from. It's
Yeah.
like having big rocks on your ankle, if you know what I'm saying. So that's why these everyday decisions, in our lives, even carrying the wrong relationships, I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
how
Yes. Like,
heavy that is. You know what I mean? When
yeah,
you're actually carrying the
your
relationship.
nervous system's all whacked. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. Let me ask you this. And again, I feel like all these sciences and all these things are merging and refining because it is all new. But like, so yeah, okay. So if because you hear this in the community, it's almost like I don't want to say negative. But it's a bit pessimistic, almost like why bother? Because there is an aerosol sky and because they're playing with the food and because, as you were telling us last time, you get a piece of fruit off a tree and you send it to the grocery store blockchain and 2 months later you get it and it's lost all this. Okay. So my question is it okay? Whatever we are going to have at our disposal, that which, as you said, is to a certain point out of our control. Okay. So it's bottled water or it's, this produce or whatever. Do you feel like that it is worth our time? Because I can see where if a person, like you're talking about, if a person is intent on getting antioxidants and focusing on the high pH and is intending this every day, that in itself is an energetic force, and I get
correct.
that.
You're
But
on the right.
also, but also realize there's a physical body here that has its own implications. And my question is, do you feel like that maybe it's a good idea or not for us to start incorporating into our lives conscious conversations with these things that we're collaborating and co-creating with and living with? Will that help? Do you feel like that's something that will
So much.
benefit? Okay.
So much so. My perspective, and my heart-based mission's name is Wellness Faith Creations. That's my company's name. So when I came up with the name at the time, it was because of the weight. I knew that I'm a weight creator or a recall creator or a catalyzer or whatever you want to call it. Okay. And I like to stretch boundaries of other people's mind as well over other ideas, just think outside of the box, the everyday norms, whatever. And so from my perspective, because I understand that we're energetic beings, so everything matters what you do in the field. If I put my finger up right now, that already changed the field. You moved, that changed the field. See where I'm
Mm,
coming from. We
mm,
decide to have a conversation, that's going to change the field.
mm.
No matter what anybody does, it's a constant living blueprint of integrative intelligence. And so everything matters. I know that I cannot control, nor do I wish to, X, Y, or Z, but I know I am able to navigate this vessel, and I choose to make a difference in my own environment. You remember we talked about water clusters. I
Mm.
often find that this analogy is so organically true all the time, is that instead of controlling these big things and big ideas and big movements that people often, maybe expect that it will happen. I mean, it's happening, but I feel that we can always make a difference with our own little cluster of
Yeah.
people.
Now
You
I
and
understand.
I, our friends,
Yeah.
our little family, those two
Yeah.
people, those one person, that one person, doesn't matter. We can always make a difference energetically and radiate light, energy by you constantly
Yeah.
taking responsibility. And this is, I think, the sacred geometrical portion of Saturn, not the other part of Saturn, not the low vibrational perspective of it, but the high vibration is that I take responsibility in my actions for myself and then also for others, because then
Yeah.
I can radiate more. I can make a difference. Maybe it's one person, maybe here's one thing today on this show
Uh-huh.
and they get this epiphany and they go, Jesus, this is what I have not seen so far. And that makes a difference in their life.
Right.
Then I've done good. Then I'm happy. Then it's, you know what I mean?
See,
But hmm,
but now I can understand because I can see it, your explanation of the plasma. So it's almost like what you're saying is the field itself is plasma.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and it's actually homogeneous to us, all of us. But certain levels of perception, we see it as separate, and now it's drilling down into our food and our water as we have this distortion that's being presented to us, the big bad wolf thing, but yet we're developing new ways, such as what you do, right? We're developing new ways, not old rituals and stuff. These are actually new sciences, new tech, new earth, new
yeah,
births, and
yeah.
so I can see that now. I can see what you're talking about with the plasma. Thank you.
So glad that, because I want to get this message across that it's it's a universal intelligence field, but we create that. And so let's say I was born in 73, okay, which is the best year, by the way. No, it's just a vintage model.
I thought it was 1961.
Was it? Damn. Okay, so listen, my generation, but like let's say Generation X, right? We were
Mm,
the first ones who were introduced to a computer. We were
mm,
the last ones that still licked, probably led on the playgrounds, and all kinds of other things as well. But we also are the Star Wars generation, let's say. And then there's the Gen Z, they are very different once again, or the millennium. They're very different. Millennials are very different once again. So all these gens, like genetic, genetic, they're from a different plasma state.
Yeah.
Because when we were born, there was a certain level of understanding in the collective consciousness. Then when a child is born today, they're the beta, they will be born from a very different collective consciousness. This plasma is carrying that universal intelligence. So therefore, you know how it is when a little kid and all of a sudden they know things that we didn't even know when we were like bloody 15 and they already know how to do it. Like, how do you know how to do that, kid? Because they already innately bring it when they are when they get their little soul particle chooses the vessel, you know, then they kind of come off the main frame plasma to do what? To experience life.
Mm.
And I experience, from my perspective, differently than you. And that's true for every single one of us. So this is how we can keep moving the plasma. So I would imagine, and I would love to see a world where absolutely we don't talk about war. There's no such a thing that a person is being harmed by another human being.
Mm.
And not to talk politics, of course. But would that not be just a thing, eh? Like, but maybe we have to have a collective consciousness to grow to that point. So the more we cultivate sacred geometry, and that means organic stuff, that means hexagonally shaped, let's say, structured water, or organic substances that are all hexagonally shaped. Your cells are hexagonally shaped, so they'll match nice and connect harmoniously instead of going square peg with a round hole and you can keep pushing it in there for look,
Mm.
what the heck are you doing? And then
Mm.
you're surprised it's difficult. You know what I mean? So imagine, and then we, each and every single one of us that's ascending right now, that are finding the light, that understand what I call this ancient human technology, which every ancient civilization understood. The Indus Valley people understood it from a Ayurvedic perspective. The Egyptians understood it, Mesopotamians understood it, the Incas, the Mayans, and I work with these communities. The indigenous, they all understand the same sacred technology to how we operate, you know. And so we've got the main energetic lines, there's a fire and water, there's a masculine and a feminine, there's the
Mm.
sun and the moon, there's an electrical energy and then a magnetic energy. See what I'm saying? And
Mm.
then when we move them in a harmonious again way, then we initiate Kundalini,
Mm.
which word is being overworn and people don't really understand that what they're talking about is a
What
lean.
does it mean? What did you say?
Kundalini is a light in the vessel.
Yes. Okay.
So kunda is a container and
Uh-huh.
lini is light in
Okay.
Sanskrit.
Got you.
So
Got you.
imagine that that's sleeping serpent at the bottom, laying at the bottom of the pelvic floor, and then it just rises when the fire and water lines are harmonious. This is why all the fake union stories out there. This is why all the twin flame stories have been emerging. Where did that all emerge from? And so there's all this finding our own organic sacred geometrical structure. So we're going back to our origin, blueprint. That's really what it is. And so we
Mm.
got to learn about it, how to do it. The more you know about a car, the more you know how to fix it. Isn't it the truth? I mean, are you
Mm.
going to go look under the hood? You don't know where the engine is, or you don't know
Mm.
what are you going to do? You don't know where the spark plugs are. How are you going to go change it? You don't know how to change. Okay, so what I'm saying is now we learn all how to do this. And I'm talking learning to self-heal. So that's what I say to my clients. I don't heal you. Indeed, not at all. You heal yourself, but you need to understand how it works. And the more you kind of catch on to this sacred geometrical architecture, the more you're going to actually intentionally cultivate it. So you're going to make a choice to eat well. You're going to make that, you're going to make those decisions. When I go out, like I'm traveling to Rome next Thursday, and it's a true story, and there's going to be 40 degrees, and I'm going to be traveling, obviously, and I still will be having my water. I sourced it in Rome. So as soon as I'm off the airport, I've got my little water bags and I'm going to go fill up with my structured water because I'm
Mm,
not willing to run around in Europe for 6 weeks and go back to the other matrix.
yeah.
I will make an effort to to maintain myself because I know if I don't have it, I don't function as well, not mentally, not emotionally, and not physically. See what I'm saying? So you got to
Yeah,
make ways.
yes, I absolutely do, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Like how maybe part of our evolution, or maybe part of one of the one of the components of our evolution is that intention. Because whether you have the intention to stay with what you're talking about in regard to water, or you have the proper intention in, say, dealing with another person, there's something to be said for that. Like there's something to be said for that in my mind that speaks to manifestation and creation, really creation, I will say,
And
right?
no, it is not like so. When we talk about co-creation, by the way, it doesn't mean that we manipulate the field. We can't because that is not sacred geometry. So
Mm.
then, you see what I'm saying. But we do have the free will, and we understand that even in astrology. When people approach me for their astrological blueprint and we read the blueprint, I tell them this is an integrative field. This is you. This is you. Like there's a piece of paper, you see your chart, your wheel, and that's just a piece of paper. That's nothing. You will mine out of this. You will pull the data, and you're gonna make it. You're gonna bring it to life. You're gonna give it light energy. But how? That's how you're gonna foster light energy into an intellect too. There's even,
Mm.
there's even prana, there's ordinary prana, which of course keeps us alive, but there's also heightened and high quality prana cultivation. Now that will propel you spiritually to a completely different level. So, so there's this new matrix that reflects conscious design instead of saying, well, life just happens to us. Oh, it doesn't matter. They'll spray us down anyways. But
Mm.
it does matter. I think everything. In fact, the idea is that you should never give up. We should
No, I
never
got you.
give up
Yeah,
the
well,
dream.
yeah, I think that's one of the main characteristics of the human species is the, the ability to adapt and to not give up. But you said something I want to go back to. I remember seeing either it was Edgar Casey or Dolores Cannon or someone at that level.
Uh,
And it's we don't always get the words right because there's not really a word. So whoever it was saying, kind of like, to put it in a nutshell, that why we come here is to, when you get right down to it, is to learn how to manipulate energy. But I knew that the word they used, manipulate, wasn't like the standard way we would think about it. You've just now made the distinction and made me realize, through the way that you explained it. And it's so funny because this happened to me last night. So when I go back and look at that, what I just told you about, and now I've listened to you, I would say I would have changed it now, and I would have said, okay, we're here to develop mastery in aligning with energy. So
Perfect.
so last night, I do all my own cooking, and I decided to get some chicken from a little mom and pop shop next door, and so I had it in the fridge for a day, wrapped up really tight, and I was going to make a great meal. And I pulled the chicken out, and there was two pieces, and one of the pieces had a little bit of a foul smell. So I took a whiff, and I took a whiff, and I took a whiff, and I said, no, I'm not going to. judge this. I'm going to work with this. So I started making my thing, and I put all the ingredients in, and this goes on for like 3 hours. And I keep smelling, okay, and I've got all these different ingredients in it. So I'm a very, I've got a very good sense of smell, and I could still smell a little bit of this foulness. And then I sat for a second, and I just kind of cleared. I thought, am I going to eat this? I think I'm going to go across the street and get a little bite to eat, and I'm going to let this sit and just let the whole thing sit, right? The whole field sit. While I was getting a snack across the street, I heard, go put some red apple. I've got some organic red apple vinegar. Okay. Go put a little bit of vinegar on it and then cook it for another hour, hour and a half, and then see what happens. So I did. So I go off, I come back, and I smell, and the hour and a half, and I smell it, and it smells delicious, like it's pure. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna eat this. So even though I had a snack, I went a- I went ahead and made just a little platter of it, and it was delicious. But that's what I'm getting from what you said. So I don't create an adversarial relationship with the stuff they spray on us. I don't create an
Mhm.
adversarial relationship with the GMOs or whatever the case is, or a person or whatever. I work with what's there without predetermination, without prejudgment.
Yeah.
And so that makes more sense to me. And look what happens. The energy transforms, and it is a collaborative, mutualistic type of creation. Yeah, I know that sounds like a weird
Yeah, but
example,
even
but
yeah, but even the vinegar that that obviously cleared something out of there. Number one. Number two, your sense organ, and of course we've got a few sense organs, and that's how also we understand in Ayurveda how the sense organs connect to certain chakras. For
right.
example, the nose and your smell connects to you know, honestly, the anus as well as the root chakra.
Huh.
I mean, I know it's funny to talk about it, but you know how animals smell each other's butt like every now and then and all of that. But this is their navigation system. It's their navigation system because they know, okay, if certain, I guess, smells will tell them if another animal is sick, for example. You know,
Wow.
so
Isn't that
you
crazy?
see what I'm saying? Like the root
No, that makes sense.
chakra,
That
the
makes it,
you
yeah,
see, like that stability. So I'm like, am I gonna go enter into this space? I will smell it, and we do.
yeah,
Even if you eat with your fingers, I eat with my fingers more and more, and where
yeah.
I'm able, in
I do. I
whatever place.
prefer
And honestly, I do, and that helps my digestion because I can
Right,
touch the food
right,
and then taste the food and
right,
then really slow down. And how to eat is slow down. The
right.
prayer prior to eating was also significant because it put people into their parasympathetic nervous system. That's why they prayed, because it kind of slowed them down. Then they would eat. So parasympathetic nervous system is active. Now you're able to have a better digestion. You slow down. No, you don't socialize, talk and eat and everything. No, you just chew, and then universal intelligence in us knows whether you have chicken or not, or veggie or whatever, and then based on that, it excretes the right
Yeah.
enzymes.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
you see what I'm saying? And then so
But
so
you can apply this to everything. So like
yes,
if you look at, for instance, the sense of smell, and we have many different ethnicities around the world and many different cultural,
mhm,
cells around the world. And you'll often hear people say, they smell funny, right?
yeah,
And even if you read some of the narratives about the what we call the ETs, right? They will say, or you might say, a soldier might say, a whistleblower might say, yeah, this species smells really bad. And then you'll hear an account of somebody talking, quoting an ET species, telling them how bad we smell.
of course.
So there's
Of course.
something about what you're saying, like even like, okay, the brain knows what you're eating, so it's
Yeah,
secreting what you need.
yeah,
And the same thing, like vibratorily speaking,
yeah.
like where we land, where we can assimilate. We may evolve and be able to merge with other, let's just say other cells and stuff. But yeah, it makes it really easy to understand what you're saying at a macro and a micro internal level.
Thank you. That's what I'm exactly. And now this is about communication. Why? Because the cells need to communicate with each other, and we only have 100 trillion of them. So, yeah, you want those cells to communicate,
Mm.
and then you also want cell signaling proper, like signaling your radar, like off your antennae or whatever, right? And so I've noted even in my clinical practice how many people are not aware of what's happening to them. They're not aware of it. I see it clearly. It's apparent in front of me. They even tell me that they have a certain problem, but then 2 seconds later, they actually are going into self-denial and they go, no, 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 it's not, no, not like that. And so it's almost like they're not in connection with themselves. They're
Right.
not, the signaling is not,
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
sophisticated, just like you've got a JBL speaker or you've got a, I don't know,
So it's
XYZ.
all, so what you're saying is it's almost like a split. Like in other words, they come to you because I've done a few sessions with people,
Uh-huh.
and they will come in and say, in other words, they'll say, "This is my situation. This is what's going on," and then you kind of go through, like you said, because it's really not you, it's them,
Mm.
and you get further down, and now they're resisting everything they told you on the front end of it. Almost like you were making a joke about you being a Gemini, but almost
Yeah.
like you got the two at war with each other or something.
Yeah, exactly, exactly,
That's
exactly. You know
crazy.
what I'm saying? And then so that's because also it depends on which stage of level of consciousness someone is in, which where they're at
Yeah.
on the journey. And so this is it's interesting that you mentioned East merging West, because I had a lecture I held in Asia last Friday, actually. And that was a big topic where in the West we understand what biochemistry, diagnostics, disease treatment. But in the East, they come at you and they say, prana, ki, chi, nadis, meridians, marma points. Huh, subtle body. What are we talking about? Now imagine if we were to merge, but now not in the three-dimensional perspective, like not transactionally, but actually in the sacred geometrical structure, we would merge these ideas. A good diagnostics is important, but you not knowing your own diagnostics is not good. Like you need to be able to detect, when someone says, I know something is not right with me. So it's almost like I gotta go get it checked out because I feel it.
Mhm.
When I died on that piece of walnut, and then later on a thing of blueberries, right, which are antioxidants. I never should have. And then I went to the doctor, and then she said, no, no, everything is good with you. And I'm like, how could you say that when my body is reacting the river in an ill manner? It's attacking me when I'm eating something that's supposed to be good, and I'm getting panic attacks. Like so you need to develop a sense of you, and that we call knowing your true nature. So it's self-awareness, understanding your own blueprints, understanding we're all different, like you've said. Your elemental composition is completely different than mine. And I can tell a lot about you because I look at your face, the face shape, your hair, your nose, your eyes, your neck, your body build. I can tell a lot because I understand these certain structural differences that would bring me to conclusions of what kind of elements you're carrying more than others.
Please don't tell anybody about my bad habits.
I will not. I promise.
Just kidding.
Okay. I'll keep it all to myself. No, but so but do you know what I mean? So we've got a composition, we have to understand it. Like, for example, I know I've got a lot of air energy. I'm a very scholarly person. I also have a lot of fire. I know when my trigger points are. I know when my Martian woman just flies off a broomstick. But I know myself, so I can navigate better. You know what I mean? I can gauge myself now
Mm,
better.
mm, mm.
Before it just came all over the place, and then
That's a
handle
that's
my
a
own.
really good point. I think that should be restated. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've never heard anyone say this, but I know it happened to me and I saw it happen to other people. But I feel like there are more and more people waking up, like to getting to that point where they're saying, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm choosing myself, that kind of thing, right? When they really get
Okay.
to the
What do you mean,
sovereignty,
Ivan?
you know?
People getting 30-minute lunch times. Okay, I want to talk about this for just a moment. How wrong that is. You know how wrong that is? That
Mm,
children don't get a proper lunchtime, that
yeah,
people that work
yeah,
throughout an 8, 9, 10-hour shift of a day, they don't get a sufficient lunchtime.
yeah,
30 minutes?
yeah,
It takes you 27 minutes to ride the elevator down and back
yeah,
up,
yeah.
from the towers. So you've got what, 3 minutes left?
Well, everything's become or was imprinted upon us with the time kind of a pressure, you
Right?
know. But what I was going to say is this: I know it happened to me, and I love your description, and I've seen it happen to other people. It's almost like multiple personalities, like when you get the jolt and you get moved to, depends on what your role is, but if you're moved to speak, and most of it does involve speaking, like you want to tell people, oh my God, this is what's happening, this is what I understand. But it's almost like there's different parts of us, like you were saying, you're Martian lady and this, all these different aspects, which are you, okay? But I guess when I heard you say that, I thought, oh, you know what? I'm not the only one. Okay, so she's getting that too, right?
Yeah,
Because
of
that
course.
can be a bit challenging.
Yeah,
And I love what you said because it goes right along with, which is probably related to knowing your makeup, knowing, self-diagnosing, self-awareness. And that is such a more expanded
yeah.
example. And again, thank you for that.
Yes, and if I showed you, the serpents, you remember this? This was from Peru. Have I showed you this maybe the last time? You see this?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
really
then,
cool.
so for example, when I was in law, right? It's a man's world, a lot in some way. Do you know what I'm saying about that?
Mm, mm,
A lot of suits, a lot of
mm,
sternness, a lot of courtroom, a lot of enforcement, a lot of law, like rules, and so and you have to activate a certain energetics. And as a woman, I find myself constantly using my fire line, my
mm,
Pingala, my fire nadi, my masculine energetics, because I had to be electric about what I'm doing. I had to be on point all the time, doing. I had no time there for the intuitive, magnetic, feminine energy. Now, when I used to go write my legal arguments for clients, they would ask, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? And I would have to tell my staff to tell the client to chill out, please, because I am creating here. I'm not ready. I'm not ready because I have to take all this information and I have to create something out of it so that it's properly presented to the government. And that's when the feminine energy came out of me. You know what I mean? That's when I was like creating. I was like, taking all this information and created a container for it, and I decorated it and I spiced it and all that kind of jazz. And then that's how I presented it. But in all, in most of the 22 years of my law practice, I burnt out. Listen to the word, burnt out, bad.
mm.
Now, why? Because fire is dry, it's light, it's also volatile. So, it'll dry you out. So, even internal, like physical system, like water, I never drank any water. What water? No water I drank. Zilch. I drank cold coffee, and that's what I drank. That was it. Cold coffee.
Wow.
Now, tried to go on that while, I was losing electrical charge. Coffee, for example, takes all your magnesium supplies, you know. A lot of Reiki sessions, for example, when I do a lot of client sessions, energy healing sessions, if I don't supplement with magnesium properly, then I can have a hair loss. And it happened to me a few weeks ago. I just went into my hair and I was like, holy freaking shit. What is this?
Man,
Chunks I'm
I
talking.
wonder if that's what happened to me.
Right. Okay. So get some magnesium, and it's all day long the best advice anyone can give you.
Mm.
Magnesium and a good quality magnesium. So get magnesium glycinate. It's the
Yeah.
best ever. Why though? Because it's a positively charged mineral
Mm.
and it helps to convert electrical
What
charge.
what what foods, what produce has that type of magnesium? Do you know?
Um, I think the greens,
The
like
greens, okay.
yeah, the greens, the leafies, the
Yeah,
the the,
I do.
the
I do a lot of.
broccolis, the kale, the
But
quickly that
but
came
what
to my
what
mind.
but what you were saying makes a lot of sense too, because again, I know that we're merging, let's just say physical and non-physical.
Mm.
And so you are speaking in, let's say, in terms of energy, and you're talking about as an energetic being, which part of you is participating in this old life, when you were in that very patriarchal
Yeah,
masculine, okay. And
yeah,
then you show us this other side of you. Well, now I'm on my feminine, I'm creating, leave me alone. But as a result of the energetics, even without regard to the physical, you dehydrated yourself.
I dehydrated
You
myself.
burned, and then your
Yeah,
physical body reflected that.
that's right.
And then through that, you found the information, the data, the intelligence, or whatever to correct the or to bring it into alignment.
Exactly. And imagine when you're using all that fire energy, you're constantly focused, like, highly focused, let's say leadership, leaders, people that take a task and they'll take a project and they'll not stop until it's done. That is fire energy. Digestive fire in the mind means you need to digest what happened to you. So if something really, so to speak, hurtful, painful happened to someone, like grief, for example, and all that kind of jazz, pardon me, then
Mm,
we need to digest that. So that's like digestive fire. And so the fire doesn't just live in this physical, the meat suit. It lives in this energetic field. So that is the subtle body template. That's the subtle template. And so you need to understand that these five elements, that by the way, Ayurveda is based on principally, it moves in the physical body as well as in the energetic field. And now imagine if you know how to handle them, how to drive
mm,
sophisticated vehicle. And now, you can intentionally drive this. You know where you're going, you know your GPS, you know exactly where you're going. I know certain things are not good for me. I'm not even going there. Why would I do that? It's not good for me. It won't favor me. I'm not going to do well with that environment, with that group, with those people. They are maybe not understanding my language. We're not yet in a harmonious, a connection. That might change with time. But for now, I know not to go there because
mm,
it would be just a stupid decision, really. But the problem is that people are not investigating enough into themselves so that they understand this sophisticated bioelectric potential that we have. So we are biological, yes, right? But it's also very organic and it represents macro, micro, all the time, all day long. We can go back and forth on that. And so the body works very much the same as the universe. So just like with the hydrogen, in and out, say, almost like we've got a similar structure, but now we've got so dense and so many uh, um, distorted geometry came up on us that it's people find it difficult to differentiate and then make the changes. So I teach folk how to navigate themselves as light beings in the physical vessel
Mm,
and
mm,
experience then their soul growth journey in a very harmonious way. Everything I've done in my, let's say, career in the past 11 years, I've navigated with these wisdoms that I share with you.
mm.
Like, not because I know it all, it's because I've allowed myself and I learned, I was studying myself, I was understanding myself more and more. And then my childhood made more sense. Then previous life information started to come in.
Mm,
See? Then the different timelines. I even have a future life that I'm very engaged with.
mm.
So I understand a few of my past lives, and I'm understanding one particular next lifetime
Well,
where I will be experiencing certain things, and I'm already almost feeling it. And like you said, timelines are collapsing. We're
mm,
bringing all of that information into one field. So that's why this is difficult to navigate. It's very, very important that you do well by you, because it's going to be easier in this multidimensional puzzle to figure out your way.
yeah. You talked about that a little bit last time, the relationship, or I observed it, the relationship between um, operating your body at maximum efficacy. You know what I mean? And the relationship or the opening that it creates for what you just described. I was just wondering, with everything that you've researched and everything, we have to do this again next month. But if you
There's
would like
so
to,
much.
but what I was going to say is, there's so much information out there,
Mhm,
and it's all coming so quickly, and it's so fully, very comprehensive packages of data, coming from brothers and sisters like you, and other places. What would your what would your recommendation be to somebody who hasn't really dived into everything, but would like to start to make an impact now?
mhm,
I know that there would be something to be said for the water intake and the type of water, but in terms of eating,
mhm,
would you? How do you feel about, let's say, a 3 day fast, 3 days, 5 day fast, 7 day fast, or starting to do intermittent fasting?
mhm, mhm,
What are your
mhm,
thoughts on that?
mhm. A very, very good question. First, I will say to you that you do not, how am I going to put this? Don't start slow. Okay, that's the first thing. Love yourself and do one thing. Do one or two things. But when people come to me, I notice that they already know so much, they already have gone to so many people, they were already told to do so many things, and they did none of it. So that it doesn't work like that. Nor do you want to necessarily shock the system, while also sometimes shocking the system is a good thing, as in fasting or as in German medicine, like people go do the whole dipping, for example, like shock the system, like your system wakes up. I even say to my clients, stop supplementing for a week. Every few months, just stop it. Stop all of it. You know what? I'm talking general supplementation, okay? Of course, everybody talks to their family physician, please, if you have an issue. So it's not a medical advice here. But what I'm saying is that it's good to shock the system a little bit, trigger it a little bit, because then it'll wake up, instead of just being used to the same things and same substances over and over. Start by making conscious choices. So let's say I like to eat at home because I know what's in the food,
Mhm.
because I put it there. I bought the chicken. I bought the spices. I know where I got the spices, because let me tell you, there's a lot of adulteration everywhere out there, and
Yeah.
that's because that's the old construct of
Mhm.
transactional business.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. But
True.
the bottom lines in restaurants, bottom lines in hotels, bottom lines in all kinds of places. So I want to know that I put it together with the spices, with the choices I have at home, and therefore I maximize that organic, structure coming into me. For example, take charge somewhere, do something, one thing. If it is a bad relationship and you know that that's the one thing that constantly take your attention, well, then just nicely shift out of it and start healing. Take away rather than add. Take away the toxicity, the density. If you know you've got bad habits, everybody pretty much know that they have got certain bad habits.
I don't
Choose
have
the
any.
one. Choose the one that maybe is the easiest to start with.
Yeah.
But also level of consciousness, so it's almost like it comes hand in hand because in order to understand more and more, you've got to have more of a coherence. So if you get stuck in the old mechanical systems, or if you are in that Newtonian framework
Hmm.
versus you go quantum entanglement, you'll understand. The more you experience it, the better you're going to be at it. The more you're going to be able to handle that blubber plasma information field of your own as well as collectively, obviously. So you have more of a morphogenic resonance.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
essential. But I
Um,
just do one at a time and slowly is
yeah.
how it happened to me.
Well, but you make another good point too. Like there is a quantum physics to this. There is this the quantum entanglement, for example. So when I cook, it's like art. It's
Yeah.
like love, okay? And so even though I don't have everything exactly the way I would want it, like I just had to buy some cayenne pepper here, but I always like to buy organic, or even like you said, even those get so. But by the end of it, I love the way it looks. I love the way it tastes. I like to share it.
That's right.
So there's got to be some
Mm.
type of
Yeah,
payoff
yeah,
that's beyond
yeah,
nutrition,
yeah,
beyond, you know what I mean? Like there's something about that, like a
yeah.
conscious quantum entanglement.
Your energy cooking that food when
Yeah.
you put some music on and you've got your thing going on, you're grooving,
Mm,
even the taste will be 10x, and you know that, and you'll have
mm,
guests and people will say, oh my gosh. But
mm,
that's because you had that entire programming, of course, because your energetic field also, radiates into the food that you're handling with your
mm.
hands and all. Like, so all of this really does matter, as opposed to you really don't. And I don't want to speak against restaurants. I like fine dining just very much, you
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying? But
get what you're saying. Yeah, no, I totally relate to what you're
I'd
saying. And this,
rather
yeah,
one good experience out
yeah,
there than me eating all the time out there.
yeah, yeah,
And also, I don't know what it is that they do in there in the back. I
yeah,
really don't know if
yeah,
it's
yeah.
the chef that has the worst sea day
Yeah,
on
don't,
the
yeah,
planet.
I don't want to think about it.
I know, like it's kind of like a crazy
But no, no,
thought, but
listen,
you know,
I know, yeah.
but
But
the other
let
thing,
me just say, I want to just say this. I always have a few takeaways from these, I consider them sessions, okay? Um, and this has been a big one for me today. If I want to surmise this, right? Oftentimes we are fixated on bringing continuity, or to use your word, coherence to these things outside of us, right? To our relationships, to our household, to the maybe the community, to our pets, but it's all out here. So, and you hear people say, got to have everything perfect because it's a reflection of your mind. I've not met anyone like that, by the way. Let me just say this. I don't want to piss anyone off, but yeah, you can have it all perfect, but it doesn't mean it's perfect in here. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Now, the what I learned today is we have spent so many, and I've done it too. Don't get me wrong. We have spent so much time trying to get everything in coherence out here. And what you're really doing is you're flipping the script.
Yeah,
You're saying, hey, why don't you point that towards yourself
right.
and get down and dirty with it to
Get
include your
down dirty.
biology, your
Get down
mentality,
dirty.
your
Yeah,
emotionality, and really start there.
yeah,
Okay. And like I like what you said too about just take one thing away or add one thing. And I think it goes without saying that as that physical, conscious, mental, emotional, spiritual is taken on and transformed, everything around you will transform.
correct.
You know what I mean?
It'll adapt to your vibratory frequency
True.
field.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
therefore, that's why you're attracting like laws of attraction. What the heck
Yeah.
does that mean? That means that
Yeah.
you work on yourself. And
Yeah.
I believe, and I always tell, and people can listen to my YouTube channel from years before that I have been talking about this already, that go down dirty first. There is no ascension and going upward and flying with the angels. There
Right.
is first down there, dirty freaking work.
Yeah.
And then if you do that, and I've done it,
Yeah.
I'm not just saying like I'm doing it even right now. It's just I don't want to bring that to the show here today, but I am actually dealing with very today, last 2 nights in my personal life
Mm.
that concerns my mother's health in
Mm.
Europe currently.
Sorry to hear that.
And there's a major crap going on. And what goes on is my 5-dimensional matrix I built. I'm almost panicking that I have got to go back to an environment that is very dense compared to the blessings I have been able
Mm.
to cultivate here where I live in beautiful
Wow.
British Columbia with the beautiful global community that I deal with from India to Australia to Europe to North America,
Mm.
everywhere. Like I've got such a wonderful community. And I'm not saying people are not wonderful over there, but what I'm saying systematically, collectively, there's a density there. And because I now need to deal with the dense structure because of my beloved mom, I find myself in a situation where
You got to
there's
go
this
back in.
pressure, the
Yeah.
pressure at me. And I've been almost like the last few nights, I'm trying to calibrate myself because I lost a bit of my footing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you could see I'm wearing black today because it gives boundaries. Okay. I have an obsidian earring and I always have long earrings, people. Okay. If I don't have an earring, I fall. So I always have earrings. It's a true story. It's my thing. It's my personal expression. But I'm wearing obsidian because it's very grounding. I've got a shungite necklace because
Mm.
I need this grounding right now. I need this grounding where I feel like I'm going to take a flight and will be a kite without a string because a lot of air, a lot of prana is coming, a lot from a lot of different directions. And I need to actually take control of all the air energy, which is
Yeah.
dry and light and very difficult to control or navigate. Let's just say that,
Do
you
you?
know, and I'm talking about medical system
Yeah.
versus
No. No. I totally got what you were saying right from the beginning because I've seen it. It's happening with me, and I'm seeing it happen with a lot of people, especially the last few weeks. And I'm wondering to ask you this question: do you feel like that's happening as I just described it? And I know I can't be the only one because of what's happening here that's say bigger than all of us,
it is,
having to go back. Maybe we don't go permanently, but maybe we have to get our feet wet
it is,
and go and so to speak, like hold our column of light, step into that space, which
it
we've
is,
been avoiding at all
yeah,
cost.
it is an
And
initiation I'm going through
yeah.
again. And so I always say that there's Sonic, the little Sonic hedgehog and,
Oh yeah, yeah.
running on the field. And I used to love playing Sonic. And then, then you got to level 2. And then level 2, the terrain is different. Level 2, there's different toys and different
Mm.
coins and different, so now you got to learn that. Now you got to go, whoa, you run, you go, you have obstacles, you use these tools, you then, you go, you make it to level 3. So it's what I'm trying to say, at each level of your awareness or mindfulness or consciousness, there's always going to be challenges. And that is because we contracted to experience life in a certain particular manner. And
Yeah.
I am a transformational maiden, made organic
Yeah.
all day long. And I am aware that I was thrown into the big initiation bucket again.
I
And
call it the universal dump truck.
yes,
You
and
know,
which
you're
is a tall order. And as I'm talking to you, I have lead jet freaking butterflies going right through my tummy because I
yeah.
know I'm okay. Okay, I'm flying. I'll be in Rome for 2 days with a friend, so we'll try to get some fun running around in there and do some little summary things. But then after that, I drop into the zone and I really need to know how I'm going to navigate myself,
Yeah.
not them,
Yeah.
me. And so that I can serve her
Yeah.
because that's all that matters. And
Yeah.
my mom is 75 and she's going through a transformational journey.
Wow.
She's actually going through a journey with me, like legit, like a very crazy mother-daughter dynamics that we're going through right now. And it
That's
is
a
actually as beautiful as it is so freaking scary.
yeah. Yes. I feel you.
So, so this I don't want to lose the harmony that I have built. So I have decided that I'm going to go there. I'm going to drop into Central Europe and I'm going to build a 5-dimensional matrix
Yeah.
around my mom.
Yeah.
And that's my mission.
Yeah.
And so how will that look? I will teach her how to eat differently, choose
Yeah.
different things. Not everything is about chicken paprikash. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be different spices being brought to her world.
Mm.
There's going to be structured water coming into her world. There's going to be different level of prayer being brought to her world. Anything and everything that I can give from heart frequency,
Mm.
love, flowers, things that she finds joyful, I will exaggerate into her field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
No, again,
really,
I think, yeah, because at the core of it, it's the same conviction, it's the same veracity, it's the same passion and the same prioritization of you. Like that if you do, first of all, you're already embedded and you're consciously proceeding with substantial contemplation and you know that the best thing you can do is be the best you are. And it's the same thing that you're talking about with the water, with the food, with the other things. I mean, this is your imprint. And
that's
so
right.
and that's fascinating too, because there's been so many of us that have gone back into the family, right? After being estranged and called crazy and a lot of healing's gone. And I've always believed that the strongest connection in this realm is a mother and a daughter. I
Mm,
really do. And I have
mm.
4 daughters and 2 sons. But and not that a father sons or a father daughter is not powerful, but there's something about the lineage of a mother and a daughter
That's right.
that is like the gold of the grid or
Yeah.
something. I don't know because I'm
And
not.
what's interesting that at this age, she's actually learned with me how it works, because her generation is another generation from a very, very different, blubber or level of consciousness. So they don't understand certain things. We were like, for example, that I feel that now, today, we more easily, let's say, in human relationships, we just work differently. Even in work relationships, we're different. We are more forthright. We more represent or advocate for ourselves.
Mm,
While I came from a very restrictive environment, at the time there was communism and blah blah
yeah,
blah, and certain things you couldn't say, you couldn't even look the wrong way, or you'd lose opportunities like people never dared to
yeah,
say or do anything. You know what I'm saying? It's what a horrid
You're from
situation.
Bulgaria, right? Or is it
I'm from
Bulgaria?
Hungary.
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 Okay. Yeah, I got
Hmm.
it mixed up. I have
Yeah.
another food.
So, so and I understand now all my life as to why now I have to take it back because I ran away, man. I
Yeah.
ran away when I was 22. I was like, F this shit. I'm out of here because I've got no room here. I'm gonna suffocate. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna suffocate. And that's what happened. College, next day I got on a flight and I arrived in Toronto with $180. 180
There you go.
in Canadian dollars. Dot. Full stop and shit nothing. I had nothing planned.
Yeah.
I was flying by I'm like, whatever, no problem. But the one thing is, I've got an archetypical energy I'm going to share. I'm really good at leap of faith. It's a thing in my the
Yeah.
particular day when I was born. There's like these Sabian symbols of I guess there's the writer's name is Diana Erosh, and she wrote a book about how each day you can check in a particular energetics that she channeled for each day of
For
the
each
week.
day. Yeah.
And
The Mayans do.
mine
The
was two
Toltecs. The
little
Toltecs.
birdlings, like little youngling birds that take a flight out of a nest. So
Uh-huh.
I just go. I just go and I'm like,
I'm with you.
oh,
I've jumped off many cliffs. Believe
yes,
me. That's why I'm laughing listening to you because I
cool. Huh?
yeah, when I
But then
went
you've got Sagittarius in you, so you'd understand that.
right.
The Sagi
Yeah, when
people,
you said the 180, because
yeah,
when I I told you went homeless to the streets. When I left, I had $178, and I didn't
oh,
have a, you know what
so
I
I
mean?
win by $2.
You win by $2, yeah. Okay, well,
You
listen,
need to tell
I
me more
will.
about that next time. You need to tell me about that
Yeah,
experience.
well, you know what I'll do is I will send you some dates because I've got another show that's coming up in 30 or 40 minutes, and I got to go run and do a couple of things. But I will definitely send you some dates tonight or
Sounds
tomorrow
good.
for next month. And let me just say real quickly, everybody, this is all a mutual, unilateral thing. If we can just, for one moment, just join our beautiful sister in a circle of life, and put her beautiful mother in the middle. And we are surrounded with another circle around us with all of our guides and angels and all of our family, monadic and beyond. And in this eternal moment, the only moment that we have, we send healing peace, love, and comfort and blessings of grace to this beautiful woman that produced this beautiful sister in love and light, in love and light, in love and light. And so it is.
Thank you
Thank,
so much. Look
thank you.
forward to report back with you from Europe next time.
Okay.
All right.
All right. All right. I'll be in touch with you in a few days,
Sounds good.
today or tomorrow. Okay. Thank
Awesome.
you, everybody. See you in 30 minutes. If you want to join us, we've got another great show. Okay. Bye
Awesome.
bye.